ready.
All righty. Welcome back to Team Spirit with your hosts, Emily.
And Lauren,
Today, Carrie couldn't join us because she had to tend to her littles, but like we did with me, I am now going to interview Lauren and we can get to know her a little bit better as well. All right. So, you ready?
okay, ready.
Okay. So, Lauren, what version of a potato would you be and why?
I would be, I don't know if it's the kind I would be or the kind I like. The I like is
Yeah.
love those scalloped potatoes,
Oh my gosh.
right?
Yes.
Especially this is so probably so weird, but I really like the boxed version.
Oh, really? Okay.
There's, I don't know. I think it's because my mom made them growing up, and it was always, I don't even know which brand it was. It was this red box, and
I know exactly what you're talking about.
you
Yep.
know, I think it was something with like the sauce that they were in and
Mhm.
the seasonings. I don't know. I just like the mixture of it all. And so maybe that is kind of like me because I feel like I am always have my hands in so many different
Yep.
things. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm always doing a lot.
That's a great one. I love scalloped potatoes.
So good. Now I need to eat scalloped potatoes.
I know, right? So, what is a pivotal moment that changed your life direction?
I think it was my freshman year of college.
Hmm.
I was not really sure what direction I was going to take. I went into college thinking I was going to do elementary education and switched my degree before I even got there. And then so I was like, well, I'll try a bunch of different things and see what I like. And I still kept gravitating back to art, which like all through high school and like when I was a kid, like I was always doing art and crafts and stuff.
Right.
And I had an interaction with an ex-boyfriend on campus, and my art professor saw it. And he was like, if you put your portfolio together and you apply it up to Penn State main campus, you can get up there before you do the 2 and 2. So like and the branch campuses, you usually do like 2 years and then your last 2 years at the main campus. And
Uh-huh.
he was like, if you're interested, meet me tomorrow. Bring everything you have. We're going to put together a portfolio. I will write up your like character reference or whatever. And he got me up there that next year, like with his help. And then I went up and I went into the art college, which I then like I switched a couple times still, but
Hmm.
I don't think I would have gotten into the graphic design or even like I don't know what would have happened if I would have stayed here in my small town. Like I went up there and I had to like flourish on my own. And I think that really
Right.
changed everything.
Yeah. And I can't imagine you not doing something creative.
I can't either. Like I don't know what I'd be doing.
You would be really great with little kids. I do think that.
I do love them. It's their parents. That's why I
Yes.
was like, because I taught 3 and 4 year olds, loved them. They were so fun.
Hmm.
Probably because I'm just a bigger 4 year old. I think when my nieces and nephews look at me, they're like, you're just a big version of me."
Right.
But it was really difficult being able to work with some of the kids with like parents that wouldn't listen
Yep.
to like the boundaries that the school would set up to better teach their kids, or like if we would approach them about difficulties their kids were facing, they didn't like that. And then it's like they're hindering their kids. And that just, I don't know, that really hurt. I just,
Oh, yeah.
it's really hard to be a part of. And I think teachers are so strong to stick at it and like advocate for the kids that way.
I know.
I also don't think that I had the grades really to reflect. I wasn't a good test taker. I wasn't a good like graded
Girl, me
person.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not me.
Nope.
So I think it's like think the path that I chose reflected that. And I don't know. I do a lot of creative stuff with my nieces and nephews, so I still like
Yeah.
tie that stuff in.
Right. So you got the best of both worlds. You've still got
Exactly. My
little
scalloped
kids.
potato.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I have a feeling during this conversation we're going to come back to scalloped potato again and again and again.
The whole time. I really like scalloped potatoes.
I know. All right. Let's see. What is one thing you love about yourself? I could think of 50 things I love about you, but
It's so hard when it's yourself.
It
You
is. It
know,
is. It is.
I love that I have learned to advocate for myself and not be afraid of some of those things that come along with having to do that. Like, I think one of the proudest moments of myself was when I like stood up for myself and I was like, I need to go talk to my doctor about like medication. I was so
Mhm.
depressed. I just like I felt like everything around me was crumbling, and I people don't talk about like medication, or when they do it's, well, I don't want to not be myself, or I don't want to not feel myself. I have never felt more myself being
Right.
medicated.
Yes.
And I'm really happy that I did that all on my own. Like, that wasn't something that was like a discussion that led there. Like, I was just kind of like, if
Right.
I want to carry on and I want to feel myself again, I need to advocate for myself. And
Yep.
that maybe that's what it will take to do it.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's really important because I think in society still mental health is still a little bit of a taboo with certain people,
Very much.
especially being on meds. Some people run in the
Hmm.
other direction when they hear meds. So it's
Hmm.
really brave, that you were like, look, I need them.
And I'm happy to talk about it with anybody questioning it too. I'm really
Yeah.
glad when I was looking, I had tried a couple different things with my doctors first, and like some just like were not it for me. And I
Yeah.
had friends who like they're open about medication, and so I'd ask them like, "Can I ask you about yours? Like what did you find helped you? What
Right.
questions did you ask?" And I was really glad that like I had those friends that I could ask those questions to. And some
Yeah.
people don't, because it's still just like you said, like it's more accepted, but it is still taboo. It is
Yeah.
still like people are still like, "Oh, you're crazy pills." And it's like, no, are actually my sane pills. My
Yeah.
crazy pills like were the ones that didn't exist.
Right, right. I can relate wholeheartedly. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm medicated too, and no shame.
I actually think it's like it's one of the braver things I think I did for myself.
I love that. What do you believe sets you apart from others?
Me apart. I think I'm weird. I think I'm really weird. I think
Who isn't?
everybody is really weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I hide it very well. The mixture of things I get myself into makes it unique about me.
Mhm.
Like I like to try things, and I think a lot of people don't like to try things.
Yes.
And sometimes I get really mad at myself because I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this." And then I'm like I get close to it and I'm like, "I don't know how to do this. Why would I say I'm gonna do this?" But then I try it, and I
Mhm.
think maybe that's what it is, like, I try a lot of stuff, and I think the more people I meet and interact with, I realize they don't try a lot of things,
No, they don't
and
get
I
out
don't
of
even know why,
the
'cause I don't know. I do know why. I'm really nosy.
comfort zone. FOMO, fear of missing out.
It's not even that, I am simply nosy. I'm so nosy. When I hear things or, like, people talk about things, I have to look it up.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
research it. And
Mhm.
then it will kind of like snowball this idea of, oh, I could do that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
it's just it's not even a miss, because there's a lot of things that I'm like, I'm not interested. I have gotten so good at saying no to things that
I
I
love
genuinely
that.
I'm so overdoing things I'm not actually interested in doing.
Right.
And I
Right.
am totally fine at sitting out while other people do them. I'm happy I got rid of that FOMO and I just did the things that I was
Yes.
curious about.
Right. I love that
And I'm
about you. Because I was going to say another thing about you that I think sets you apart is you don't mind not being being a loner, kind of like doing things on your own. Like you don't need to be a part of the crowd. And I love that. I love
I like
that.
to like not be a part of the crowd, mostly
Yes.
because then I can observe and I can take my notes and then I can research on my own and then I can
Right.
be part of the crowd where I want to be part of it.
Right. Yes. Smart.
It's I think it all stems from being nosy.
Hey, I'm one of the nosiest bitches out there, so I get it. What is a complex trend or topic that you can simplify for others?
Okay, so I guess we'll start with like what I do. So I primarily am a freelance designer for web graphics, logos, I'll do calligraphy, art, or I do some specialty things too for specific clients. Like one of them, I'll do their events and things like that because I have a background in that and I've worked with them before. And then I work with a publisher and I'll do some of their actual like website tweaking, their coding, because I used to work with them and I do that stuff. So I think in the graphic world right now, AI is something that is very
Yeah.
trendy. I think it is way complicated to actually simplify, but I think the conversation that people should understand is how it can work for you and how to use it morally. So, a lot of the things that are going on that I would say are immoral, that are trendy, are some of these like filters that are using samples of other people's art to serve content to you.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to find out like who's making it. Kind of like in our last episode, I didn't explain why I asked you who made that book is because AI is make generating workbooks for trendy things. And so this one
Okay.
author I follow, she just
Hmm.
released this book and it became one of the best-selling, like New York Times best-selling books because
Uh-huh.
it's doing so well. These workbooks with her face, obviously like AI
Yeah.
graphic, is turning up all over Amazon to be a workbook for her book. And
Oh,
they
that's
are
fucked
all,
up.
yes, and it's all AI generated.
Wow.
And I think something that's really important when you're shopping for things or using filters is to look who made them and then to see if it's AI, is it sampling from other artists? Like, is
Right,
it
right.
taking funds from people who are actually creating these things? Because it's a really, it's everywhere. And I like AI to an extent. I think it is very useful. It's really helpful for, I'm not a good writer, so when I can use like Copilot
Yeah.
and like have it write out an email for me,
Mhm.
or we could use it to make like a sponsorship promotion, like
Yep.
emails, things like that is it is so helpful. But when
Yeah.
you are using it in ways that are kind of an art form, you have to be very careful and know where it's coming from.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I was also thinking like along the lines of kids using it to write papers in school. Like
Yes.
they got to be careful.
Oh, I hate that. I don't, I really don't like that at all. And it's crazy. So I also do like user testing things, and a lot of them are for the like AI apps and platforms and asking you to have it perform things so that they can see like how it's operating.
Mhm.
And it is very interesting how simple of things you can ask it and what it spits out. And I could then just turn that in
Yeah, and claim it as your own.
because I don't think a teacher can put the same prompt in and get that back. Like,
Right.
I
No,
don't think they can get the same response.
it's not consistent. It'll be different each time.
Yes. And so then I don't know, it feels very dangerous. There's
Yeah.
definitely like treading waters of where it can ride fine lines on copyright issues. And I think we're already seeing that. And so I think that's just a really important thing to think about when using AI tools.
Yeah. You know, another scary thing with AI that happened to our girl is
I know, sick,
putting
so
a
sick.
face on a completely different body and having them do disgusting things.
They also can tweak voices. So you
So it
can
sounds
take,
like,
yes, I have heard like audios on TikTok and it's her voice. Like I remember there was one in the beginning of the Eras tour and she
mhm.
was like, I don't care if poor bitches can't afford my tickets. I don't perform for poor people or something
She
like
would
that. And I was
never
like,
fucking say that.
and I was like, oh my God. And it sounds just like her
Yeah.
because it's AI has been built to be very,
Human like.
yes. And coding is really fun. It's really complicated and it's really scary because you can write code to learn from itself. And that's essentially what AI is. It's
Yeah.
always learning from itself. And so you have to make sure that when you code that, you also code it so that you are still in charge.
Right.
And when does
Right.
it learn? I don't know. I guess it's like it's the moral conversation that people talk about AI all the time is, when does it become immoral? Like, when is consciousness for this thing?
Hmm.
And that's when I'm like, ooh, like, I don't
Yeah.
really care anymore.
Creepy.
I just
Very.
want to write an email for me,
Right. Right. Same. Yeah. Yeah.
not anything else. Yeah, there's some icky stuff out there.
So kind of this is related to the question that I just asked, but what advice do you have for others entering your line of work? Be careful with AI.
Be careful with AI, but also don't be afraid of being inspired by things. I think when it comes to the art world, everybody is like so afraid of being different. And everybody is different. And unless you are straight up copywriting, like copying someone's work,
Yeah.
it is different. And you can be inspired by different pieces of different artists or things that contribute to making your own thing, because
Right.
you liked the way someone did like a background in this, and you liked how they wrote this out, and then you make it your own. So there's a big difference between being inspired by things and then copying things.
Right.
And I think it's really hard to not be in your own mind when you're creating things, to be like, this is an original. I never do things that are like actually my own. And then you get caught up in, I mean, it's a hard, there's not money in it unless you make it big, which sucks. Or
Mhm.
like you get lucky, but like a lot of hard work goes into it.
Yeah.
And I think as long as your heart is still in it and you enjoy the things that you're creating and doing, stick with it. Some of the best work I think I did was my calligraphy stuff, because it was so personal. I would
Yeah.
do a lot of like small pieces for, actually a lot of them were centered around like people who had passed, which I went into calligraphy for weddings, and then when COVID happened, I lost all those clients, and then went online, and people were hiring me to do pieces to send to people or to like memorialize people, and I was like,
Okay.
I
Wow.
never considered this being
Right.
part of what I do.
Yeah.
And like I got to work and like know people who left memories for people and put them into a art piece for them to be remembered. And
Right.
I thought that was really cool.
I love
And
that.
so like, don't put yourself in a box of
Right.
like, I do calligraphy for weddings. If I would have done that and stayed in that, and if COVID never happened, I wouldn't have found this other part that, like, honestly, I did so much more
Hmm.
from that once I was outside of the wedding world.
That
And
gives
I
me
think,
chills.
yeah, because it was different, and I didn't even consider it that way. So like, do not put yourself in parameters of what you think fits.
Right. I love that. That's so cool.
It is cool stuff.
The next question is, do you have any unpopular opinions?
I have a trillion unpopular opinions.
Right.
I think in overall, it's a popular opinion, but I don't think it's an opinion that people actually use in their real life. And that's a people pleasing thing. Everybody understands you don't want to be a people pleaser, but to actively not do it is really hard. And I think that's when it becomes an unpopular opinion, because then it is mean, or I don't know what other word to really use, but when you stop people pleasing and you put boundaries down, and people start unliking, like not liking that reaction, is when it does feel very unpopular.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should try it at least. Just try it. Just say no, or like just don't, I don't know, don't reply if it's not something that you want to engage in. I
Right.
think, and I do think overall it's a shared opinion. We all share
Yes.
this opinion that we shouldn't do it,
Yeah.
but the act of not doing it, I think, is unpopular, or
I
the act
completely
of
agree.
doing it.
Right.
And I think people should do it more often. I don't know, be a little mean,
Yeah. I
not too
mean,
mean.
no is a full sentence.
Yes, yes. And I also think it strengthens relationships when you use it and it's respected.
Yeah.
Because then I think one of the ways that you can impress me most is by saying what you mean, like offering something and being like, that's not for me. And I'd be like,
Right.
I love that.
Right.
And then I'd also, if they're comfortable, I'd love to know why. Not to change your opinion. I'm nosy. I'm so curious.
Right.
What if there's something I didn't consider?
Right.
I think the active conversation from boundaries is so important. And a lot of times it doesn't happen. Once they're put out there and someone says no, a lot of people then run and talk to other people about you because you said no. But they didn't
Mhm.
ask me why.
Right.
And maybe we could fix some things if that conversation happened.
Yeah, it's getting their perspective and broadening yours.
Yes,
I
exactly.
love that.
It's not just about pushing your ideas and your thoughts and your feelings. It's understanding others also.
And where they're coming from. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's the next step that I don't know, I guess it's not popular because people it's hard.
Hmm.
It's really hard and to then do it,
I know. Well, it takes a strong person to say no when they don't want to do things. It
because
really
you feel
does.
bad. You feel really guilty.
Yes.
You feel
Yes.
that guilt and that mean, then later you're like you feel better because you're like stood up for myself.
Yep.
And I said no because that's what I meant. And I didn't put myself in a situation where I then had to say no later because I shouldn't have said yes then.
Right.
And I think it's when we actually are saying the things that we mean, it allows change and it allows growth.
Absolutely. I agree. What is your weirdest habit?
I like sing everything I do.
Like narrating?
Yep. Oh yeah. I maybe it's because like the animals around, but like
Mm.
I have a song for everything. Like in the morning, if I'm like making some eggs, I'll be like, make some eggs, make some eggs. It's time to make some
I
eggs. Like
love that.
I didn't realize I talk to myself and do these things so much until we went back to work
Hmm.
after COVID and I was sitting behind someone in my cubicle. And 4 times she came around, she was like, "Are you talking to me?" It's like myself.
Right, right. That's funny.
I think a lot of people do it, but like I am there's a constant
Oh,
conversation
me
happening
too.
up here.
Me too.
So I don't know, maybe it's not that weird.
No, sometimes I'll pretend that I'm like doing a YouTube. Like when I'm putting my makeup on, I'll be like, okay, first I do this, then I do that. And I mean, I talk out loud like I'm doing a YouTube.
Yeah, when I do it a lot when I'm cooking. I'm like narrating what I'm doing as if
Yeah.
like I have
Like you're on
my
a
own.
cooking show or something.
I think I think I often live my life like I'm on that. Wasn't the Truman Show? Is that what the movie was called? Where like someone's watching like you? Like
Oh,
I
I'm not
kind of
sure.
I think that's what it's called. It's a movie about someone and like his life is actually a show, but like he didn't even know. Like he can't see this
Oh,
audience laughing and things.
yeah, yeah.
And I feel like I'm like, you know what? Just in case, I'll just
Right,
perform.
right.
Just in case. Or like, I am convinced a lot of times that like we're Sims. Someone's playing.
Oh, all the time. Yeah, I think about that all the time.
So I think I just, yeah, I kind of live my life like it's a performance. Like, so just in
Yeah,
case someone's watching, here I am.
I do the same thing. So I guess we're both weird.
I think everybody's weird, and I think everybody should strive to be weird because then you're boring.
And own it. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. The weird things about us is what makes us fun and interesting and unique. And so be
Right.
weird. Just be weird.
Exactly. Exactly. So that leads me to my next question. If your life was a movie, what would be the title and who would play you?
My friend always says we've known each other for like 12 years, and somehow I always like surprise him with things about me and my life. Like every now and then he's like, I always think that I understand you until like something comes out of your mouth, and I'm like, I don't know you at all.
Right.
And he always says that I would be the actual somehow I manage because I do a lot of things that I think people look at and they're just like, how does she function?
Mm,
And I don't know, but maybe if I wrote it down or maybe if we filmed me, we would have an answer. So I
right.
think that kind of fits as somehow I manage. Who would play me?
I can think of a couple people that I think you'd look like.
Well, I feel like because she's cast in these type of roles a lot, I think Jennifer Lawrence.
I was literally thinking that.
She's always in these roles where it's just like, oh, okay.
Right, right, right. She's down for anything.
That's often how I guess it kind of feels is I don't know. Like he took a look at my calendar one time and he was just absolutely horrified at like I'll write down numbers, but like just a number and no other information. He's like, but how do you know who that was? And I was like, well, I kind of look at that week and what I was doing and I try and connect it to who I was talking to. And he was like, what is wrong with you? And
Oh
I'm like,
my
I don't
gosh.
know. Or like I use different sometimes, well, he was like, oh, do you use different colors for things till you like remember it? And I was
Mhm.
like, no, that's just the pen I had nearby. And he was like, this is foul. So I think yeah, I think it would just be a documentary of how not to be, a how not to.
With Jennifer Lawrence. Alrighty, next question. What impact do you hope to leave behind through your work?
I hope the like memorializing of people and love and things can be forever.
Mhm.
I think a lot of the things that I do, they don't ever go away. Like art doesn't go unless you burn it or ruin it.
Right.
And so those things always come with a story or have a meaning to them. Like I think all art generally has a meaning to them, even if someone's kind of like, I'm just gonna throw things and create it like this way.
Mhm.
You were feeling something when you did it. And so I think the impact of remembering why you do things and
Right.
that they get to live on past you, I think that's it.
I love that. And especially like if you're creating it digitally, it's never going to go away.
Right. Unless you'd forget to save or your computer dies, which
Right.
I've done that and I've got really mad. But yeah, it's tangible in a way that we're not. And I think that's really cool
Yeah.
that people get to own pieces of you
Yeah.
and to remember that when you're also making and doing things that you're putting yourself into that and then
Abs-
it lives past you.
Absolutely. I love that. All right. Share a personal challenge or goal that you're working on.
I am working on expanding my skills and putting them out there to a wider community. So I keep moving this from week to week in my calendar to go back onto I use Thumbtack to kind of put my services out there for people to like hire freelance and stuff.
Mhm.
And I keep it is my goal to put myself back on there for other services that like I know I can do. I
Right.
just do believe in myself that I can also be hired like but by wider communities or like people to do it for.
I
I
like
think
that.
believe in myself.
Yeah.
It's
Which
my
is
personal
sometimes very
goal.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that syndrome will sneak up on you the
Ooh,
drop of a dime.
and it holds you back for far too long.
Ugh.
Far too
Don't I
long
know it?
because you're
Don't I
like,
know
why do I've done this. It's so crazy how we're like, we've done this before and we talk ourselves into why it's still not good enough
it? Mhm.
for other people. And I'm like, I've done this. And I've even done it for people that I don't have relationships. And I guess that's because it's like a word of mouth. It's like a connection thing.
Right.
It still doesn't feel like a stranger, but like they are strangers.
Right.
Like it is still,
Right.
I don't know. It's so
Right.
silly to
Yeah.
when we do these things to ourselves, but we all do it.
I know. And it's like, it doesn't matter how much validation we get or how many compliments we get on our work. It's still like, well, maybe they're lying, or
Hmm.
maybe they're just trying to be nice, or it could have been better.
Or they just because they didn't do it, they don't see the error that I did, or
Right.
I could have done this better. And I'm like, I
Right.
swear, every single thing I send out, I'm always like, it wasn't good enough. And it holds us back from things that
It does.
oh, there was this quote, and I think this is what really pushed me into getting into calligraphy in the first place. Like, really, this was when I made my business, Pix Market Designs, like a real thing, is
Hmm.
because I read this quote and it said, if your podcast, your art, your book, your this is perfect, you waited too long.
Yeah.
Like the things that you're going to put out there at first are never going to be perfect or feel perfect. And
Or sometimes not even successful.
right. And if you're waiting that long, you're still going to feel that way. And then so you will never do it. It will
Right.
never ever feel complete to you. And then you hold on too long and you don't do it.
There's never a
I
right time.
Yes. And I am really good at putting myself there and trying new things. I'm not very good at then putting it into motion as a like brand of me for me
Yeah.
to then have to talk about and market for
Right.
myself.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's when I'm like, I don't know if I'm good enough for it.
Oh, I do that all the
And
time.
it's
Yeah.
so we and it's very it's difficult.
Yeah.
It is.
It's annoying.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm working. Yes, it's annoying. That's what I'm working on.
And then, last but not least, what part of today's conversation do you hope sticks with our listeners?
I think talking about being weird and having conversations without pushing your feelings or your thoughts on other people, like to be open, to stop doing things you don't want to do. And you don't even have to explain why. But if someone asks you in a way of they genuinely want to know about you,
Mhm.
I think it's really nice to have that conversation
Yeah.
and to be open to what they also have to say.
Right.
And you might learn things and just be weird, be you.
Yeah. And also, I think, too, when you mentioned advocating for yourself and your mental health, just to the listeners out there, speak up. You know, if you
Yes.
need meds, if you need therapy, if you need help, if you need to talk, if you need to vent, speak up.
Because
Ad-
no one else can speak up for you in the way that you can. There
right.
is no other you. There is no stronger relationship than the one you have with yourself. And that's you have to advocate for yourself. And if you don't talk about it, no one's gonna know how you're feeling. And then you really do just feel alone and it snowballs into this really isolating place where you still then have to speak for yourself. It's
Mhm.
always you just gotta care for yourself. Don't be afraid of what other people think because people don't think about you in the way that you think about you.
Exactly.
People don't think about me as Lauren as the way that I do. And for
Right.
me to overanalyze and worry so much about what one person thinks, it's never going to be the actuality of what it is
Right.
because we're always so much harder on ourselves.
Right.
And so then we're putting ourselves in this box and not acting because we're afraid of something that someone else probably doesn't even think.
And even if they do think a certain thing, I always think of the quote, you could be the juiciest peach in the orchard, and there's some people that still don't like peaches. So,
And that's fine. It is totally cool to not be everybody's peach. Then there's a couple less people to perform for or like, to
exactly.
deal with. And that's sometimes really great.
Well,
We will
thank you,
edit those out.
Lauren.
Right. Thank you. I'm glad I got to see you. Okay, well, this was so much fun, and I'm really glad that we were able to work this out. And you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Team Spirit Podcast. And you can find Emily on Instagram and TikTok at Enchanted Mystic by MK. And you can catch her lives to sign up for mediumship readings, soon to be past live readings, all the good stuff. She's amazing. And we will see you next